Welcome to CSC's virtual First-Time Homebuyers Workshop. Buying a home can be intimidating. You saved, you dreamed, you're ready to walk through the door. Today we're going to break down all the steps and take you through your home buying journey. Today I'm here with our expert, Michael Springer, the mortgage lending manager, and he is going to help us today with breaking down all those steps and kind of getting a feel of what you need to do to get financed for your first home. So Michael, I think the first question that we all have is, you've made the appointment, you feel good, you're ready. What type of paperwork do you need to bring in to your first mortgage appointment?
In most cases, we don't really need that much paperwork to start the application, as long as you give us an idea of what kind of income you have, if you have any money put aside as far as assets and a bank statement, things like that. I mean, if you do bring them, it's a great thing because we get a true idea of what the numbers are. But usually it's a couple pay stubs, 2 years of tax returns, and your asset statement showing bank statements, 401k, things like that. So
Awesome. So I think, a lot of time there's a lot of noise around the fact that you need to have a whole suitcase full of paperwork, but that's not the case from what you're
saying. Not a lot of people get intimidated by that, yeah. But no, it's just a couple pieces of paper. I mean, if you don't bring anything for the first appointment, that's okay. Mm-hmm. We'll go over everything that we're going to need going forward. And sometimes there's things we ask for after the fact too. So if you don't bring anything, that's okay. If you bring those few documents, that's okay too. So.
Awesome. One thing that I hear out in the community and members want to know is, what score is going to get me into owning my first home? And there's a lot of noise, as I say, around, you need an 800, you need a 720. I think people are very curious about what it actually takes as far as credit score wise of owning your first home.
To be honest, the 640 threshold is kind of the cutoff. There's instances where it could be a little bit below that, okay. But that's kind of the target range, okay. The 640 score. Okay. And most people ask the question, well, I have, on my phone, Credit Karma, things like that. What we do is we take a FICO score. Okay. It's a combination of all three bureaus, and we take the middle one to make it fair because they all score differently. Okay. So when people look at, hey, I have a 680 on TransUnion, well, we're going to take the one in the middle to make it fair for everybody.
Awesome. So you're really wanting to shoot around that 640 mark just to feel solid. And if you do have any questions, do you have people call down to the credit union to get a soft pull or anything of that nature?
Yeah, we can do things like that to see where they fall in as far as the TransUnion score, just to give them an idea of maybe, hey, I need to work on some things. But we'll take a look at the bureau too as well to see if there's any things we could target to get that score bumped up too as well.
I love that because I think a lot of times when it comes to credit score, there's so many credit monitoring apps out there, and you're like, well, 1 minute I'm an 800, the next minute I'm a 740, yep. And it kind of can get confusing, kind of convoluted with a lot of different things. So 640 is the mark. If you have questions, call down to the credit union. We'll be happy to do a soft pull to kind of see where you land, to kind of get you right where you need to be before you walk through the door. After credit score, I think one of the other things people are thinking is money. Let's talk down payment. Yep. So when we talk down payment, I guess you got to put your money where your mortgage is. What do you need?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time there are some first-time home buyer programs and things like that, but the target is 3.5% of whatever the purchase price is. Mm-hmm. That's a fair number to think about. That really doesn't include any closing costs, but that's something you think about down the road. But as far as the down payment, we target 3.5%.
Wow! So
of the purchase price.
3.5% is more of the target. So the 20% is like, if you're trying to get a straight A on a test, like in some extra bonus points, 20% would be good, but it don't necessarily need.
No, we have programs that you could put 10% down, 5%, awesome. But as little as 3.5% down.
Awesome. And I guess since we're talking down payment, a lot of times what people don't think about is those closing costs. Can you enlighten us a little bit more? If you have the down payment, what is it going to cost on the closing part?
If you include all the closing costs, you're usually looking at about 4% of whatever the purchase price is, and that can be split up between the buyer and the seller. that's what your agent's going to take care of. Take care of that aspect of it, because you can split them, 2 and 2, or sometimes the seller refuses, or they will pay all of it. So you just plan on the 4% in worst case scenario, but that's something that your agent is going to, fight for you to get, a fair deal when it comes to those closing costs.
And I love that you bring up agent. When we talk about real estate agent, I think that's something that may be lost on some people, that it is important to have a good real estate agent. And I think one point is that they're going to fight for you. You've done the work, you've saved up the money, you've got that credit score. Now you need someone to advocate for you. Can you tell us a tidbit about why it's important, besides them fighting for just the closing costs, why it's important to have a good real estate agent?
Yeah, you want to have trust in them. They're the one that's going back to the seller's agent if anything pops up, if there's something, in the appraisal, or the value comes back less, or there's some improvements that need to be done on the home. Your agent is going to fight for you to have those things done, to make sure that when you do take the keys and take that property over, you're getting what you expected.
Yeah.
So you really have to have a good feel and a trust for your real estate agent, I think.
And I love that you say that. I can take back on my own experience. When I purchased my home about 7 years ago, I had a friend that helped me, and it was a good relationship because she really stood on business as far as being a real estate agent.
Yep.
She was very gracious with her time. She allowed me to take my time to make one of the biggest purchases I have ever made. And I think that's important to understand. You need a real estate agent that's going to be there for you, allow you to take your time to find your home, and not rush you through the process, because there's a lot of things you need to be looking for. So I think, I'll say it again, it's important to have a good real estate agent so that you can buy the home of your dreams and make sure that you're getting the best deal and the best bang for your money, in a sense. Sure. With that, let's talk a little bit about what I get questions about during sometimes counseling and out in the community. Seasoned funds. I mean, the seasoned funds, like you're putting some salt and pepper on some money and making it taste good, or what are we talking about here?
So when you talk about seasoned funds, say you tell me you have $40,000 to put down. Oh. Seasoned funds means we'll be able to verify it for 60 days, let's say. So you have that money in your checking account at CSE since last December. Okay. Those are seasoned funds. Okay. They need to be tangible. You need to see them. They need to be on paper for at least 60 days. Okay. Could be in a 401k, another bank, a checking account, savings account, CD, whatever it is, but that's what it means by seasoning it. Good 60 days to prove where those funds have been.
So when you talk about seasoned funds, that's the money for maybe your down payment and the closing costs.
Correct.
That the underwriters are looking at. So I know people have asked, is it okay if a parent gives me money, or if someone gifts you money?
Yep, for sure. Gift funds are available on most of the products we offer, if not all of them. They need to be proven the same way as if it was your money. Okay. So they'll sign a gift letter, like if it's a parent, relative, things like that, but they'll also have to prove that money has been in an account somewhere for those 60 days.
Furthermore, why I say don't keep that money under your mattress, because we need to know where it came from. You can't just whip that out of the shoebox and be like, here you go, because it seems like the underwriters need to have
they'll look for the history. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we've talked about a lot. I know another thing that people always ask me about is escrow, taxes, insurance. What is that? What does that mean to me? Is that something I need to be saving for in addition? Is it a bundle package? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
You don't have to save for that. The escrow piece, it's part of your monthly payment. It's addition to the principal and interest part of your payment. It's where we collect your taxes and your insurance, or if you have private mortgage insurance, where you don't have to worry about putting money aside for that. We take care of that for you. It's just part of your monthly payment. Those can increase year by year because, as you know, insurance goes up, taxes go up, things like that. So your payment will adjust for that purpose and that purpose only. Most of the products we do are fixed, so your principal and interest never changes, but the escrow can change depending on your taxes and insurance for the property.
I think that's good to know, because I think a lot of times, even when I was first purchasing my home, I'm like, another thing I need cash for. Well, it's good to know that I don't necessarily need the cash for it, but I just need to have the understanding.
Correct.
So it's bundled into your mortgage price. You pay that one payment, it seems like. I know with mine, I pay a monthly payment and the escrow's all included.
Correct.
And as long as I make that payment on time, I'm good.
Correct.
And then a little tidbit, once you get a year out, you may get a escrow analysis where they raise the price like you were talking about.
Yep.
But other than that, as long as you're making that mortgage payment, you're going to be good. Here's the part where I think, especially, after the pandemic, there might have been a little bit more difficulty with, and that's a JOB. So your job, income, your job history. Tell us a little more about what underwriters are looking for when it comes to your job history.
So in most cases, they're going to look for a 2-year history of employment. If it's in the same field and you switch jobs, that's perfectly fine. If there's a job change or if there's a gap or something to that sort, we would request a letter of explanation of what happened during that time. Or if you switch from being an accountant to a teacher, we'd have to have some kind of explanation of what happened during that time frame. But we have to have a 2-year history of where you've been and what you have done. And the letter of explanation would be something that we would request from you. You just don't have to make it up.
Okay.
We would say, hey, this is what we need you to do.
Okay.
Put it between this date and this date, and tell us why you actually changed positions or something to that sort. So it's something that we would tell you. You wouldn't have to do anything other than write it up after we tell you what we need.
So for the most part, you're looking for 2 years worth of job history.
Correct.
So that it shows stability, that you're able to continue to make your mortgage payment.
Correct.
And that it's going to be a sound mortgage.
And if you did change fields of work, like I said, an accountant to a teacher, that's not an end all. We just need to know what happened and why you did it. Maybe you did it for more money, or you had a child or something to that sort. But it's not a detriment. We just need to know what happened.
The thing that I love about this is that I'm getting a little bit of a feeling is that buying a house isn't as intimidating as most people make it feel. Seems like you just have to have a decent credit score at 640. You need to have a little bit of money saved up, around 3.5%. You need to account for a closing cost, which you said was around 4%. And then you just need to make sure you have that job history of about 2 years. Other than that, throw some salt and pepper on that money, and we're pretty much ready to go and walk through the door with you.
Yeah, a lot of times people are intimidated just by the word mortgage.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Most of the time when we have somebody come in, we meet with them a few times before we even do an application to get them educated on what they need to do.
Wow.
So we can take appointments, phone calls, go over things before we even start to pull credit or take an application, just so they know what they're getting into or what they need to do in the future to do an application, whether it's 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
So,
and I like that, because the one part about CSC Federal Credit Union is if you need any additional help, give us a call. We're gonna get you there. A lot of times it may be just as much as enhancing your credit score by a few basis points, or it may be trying to help you come up with a budget so that we can get that down payment. I know there's a lot of noise right now around the mortgage rates and are they going to come down and should we wait? I know we can't really say what's best, but I've always been taught if you have a dream home, don't wait on that rate. Go ahead and go for it, because the likeliness of you waiting and that house still being on the market is slim to none.
yeah, it's difficult. Some people are just really, shy when it comes to that. The rates are a little bit higher right now.
Yeah.
There's always chances of refinance it. There's other different products and programs we could do.
That's awesome.
So don't just push it off to the side. Let's
Yeah.
talk it through. Maybe in a year the rates do go down and you can refinance, and we could do that here at the credit union as well.
That's awesome. Well, I think we've gotten a lot of great information and pretty much the meat and potatoes of what we need to walk through the door to get finance for your first home or maybe your second home. But one thing I also want to mention is there's some resources out there. I know there's some down payment assistance programs, maybe some FHA, veteran loans. Do we here at the credit union work with those type of resources, or what do you see in the industry as far as mortgage lending, the best way to go about it?
Yeah, there's different products. You know, the veterans have their own product. Sometimes little as nothing down for a veteran. Their credit score can be a little bit lower sometimes too as well, but we have products for those individuals. We have FHA products for first-time home buyers. There's some other cities within Stark County and the surrounding counties that have down payment assistance programs as well, which are not affiliated directly with us, but we can put them in contact with them to try to get some more funds to put down for their first home.
Well, Michael, we want to thank you for being here with us today, giving those nuggets of information about what's going to make it work and how to get you approved for your first time home. Before you sign anything, learn everything. I'm Justin Frazier once again with CSE Federal Credit Union. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator. Give us a call if you have more questions. We would love to answer them. And we just thank you for your time today.